Recording in progress.
Could you hear that?
It just wants to make sure I know.
Yeah, really, really aggressively. Start like an introduction, your name, age, pronouns, where you're from.
I am Louisa Nickel. I am 23 years old. My pronouns are she, they, and I'm from Newton, Kansas. I moved to the city like a year and almost a half ago now. I feel like when 2 years hits, I'm gonna maybe feel like I actually live here, but we'll see.
How did you become an artist in residence? How did you hear about the program?
Kate was my best friend and my first roommate in New York. Lucy Rossi's one of her first New York friends. They worked at Orange Theory together, and through that started kind of following you guys. Then the artist in residency came up, and it just seemed like a cool opportunity to both like get to know more artists that are my age, because a lot of residencies are for artists who are much further along in their development. It was exciting to find one that was devoted more to people who are a little earlier on in their career.
Do you want to talk about some of your thoughts on the experience?
I think it was a great catalyst for me to make something. It's always so much easier to make something when you feel like there's something you're making it for. You guys kind of met me where I was at and were very receptive when I was like, I think this is what I need to develop this project. It was really malleable, and that was lovely. I think the only part that maybe like I felt just out of the loop was just the half that is working with the company. I think I felt a little not quite sure where to offer my skill set in a way that would be helpful for y'all. Being a new person coming into that already created mechanism was a little difficult. But other than that, I felt really supported and all that jazz.
And I totally agree. Something that I feel like our program right now is missing is the structure of giving the artist in residence a complete job if they're interested in it. I really do want to find a specific place for the artist in residence that's not just their project, a place where their skill sets were consistently valued and utilized. So I appreciate that feedback because I totally agree.
Obviously, every artist in residence is going to have a different skill set. Like I want to be doing and helping, and I wasn't just quite sure how.
Okay, let's talk about A Collection of Small Things. Give us a little byline of like what A Collection of Small Things is about.
A Collection of Small Things is a collection of 12 small moments. Each small moment represents a day in the mind of mostly myself. My goal with each of the 12 moments was to make an irrational thought or something that I couldn't quite grasp and make it graspable. And so assigning a task or a thought or a poem to those irrational gnawings. So in each, you see the three characters, this, that, and the other, grappling a different anxiety, a different existential crisis in this immersive experimental method.
What was your original inspiration for writing the piece?
At the start of 2022, I decided to write a play every day. Some of them were very, very short. Some of them were very long. As I was writing them, I was reflecting on how therapeutic it was for me to take whatever irrational thoughts were in my brain and try to make them into a scene or a task. And then when I got this artist in residency, I was like, okay, maybe there's something to be threaded together here. I've been really interested in non-narrative theater and theater that does something other than storytelling. All of that kind of combined into my want to make this kind of personal therapeutic piece of theater that other people could come in and use as a tool for themselves.
I love the word therapeutic.
Yeah.
It's a great description word for the show.
Sometimes people are like, when theater becomes therapy, it's unhealthy or toxic. I do not agree.
I think people, when they're seeing any type of theater, are unconsciously being therapized. Like the catharsis you feel, the empathy, all of it, if you're crying in a theater, that's therapy to me.
Yeah, I wanted to invite people in on the therapy I find with theater.
Would you describe the process of making the show a reality?
It was definitely really hard, and not necessarily in a bad way. I went through all of the plays I had written for the first 6 months of the year. I kind of layered a bunch of them on top of each other. The moments that were performed at the end were actually a conglomerate of a bunch of different days. And then we did the workshop once I had kind of finalized the first draft and read through it with some artists. Hearing it aloud was so helpful. I learned a lot about like what was working, what maybe I wasn't so sure of, which kind of led me to bring on Josh Wick as the sound designer, who wrote a score that played from start to finish. So he wrote about 45 minutes of music. From there, I brought a cast together and we started rehearsing. My actors had tons of questions. It was super cool to do it by myself too, because everything was specifically mine. I feel like people got to know me a lot better and I got to know myself a lot better.
What are your hopes for the future of A Collection of Small Things?
Hopefully A Collection of Small Things comes back around. I need a break. My mom was immediately like, "Are you working on the next draft?" And I was like, "Holly,
You're
no."
like, no, girl.
Yeah, I'm gonna do something else and then I'll circle back. I just think it needs more structure and more specificity. I would love to do it in a space that I can physically interact with the audience. Like, there were just a lot of things that, had to be made a little smaller and logistically easier than maybe the exact way I had wanted. And I would love to marry what I discovered in doing it in that space with the original thing and see what comes out.
Just one more question. Do you have any advice for current or future artists in residence?
I'd say don't be afraid to take up space. Sometimes where I hindered myself is being afraid of knowing what it is you need to feel supported and asking for it. Maybe it's the Midwest guilt, but I feel a lot of maybe part of the reason I wore every single hat myself is because I feel some sort of weird need to like do it all myself. I don't feel bad for being a person who cannot do everything.
Very well said. I hear that. I struggle with that as well.
Hopefully we can do a thing again sometime in another way.
Absolutely. I'd love to. I feel grateful that we had you be a part of the program. It really was a blast. Well, thanks for chatting with me, Lou.
Yeah, of course. I can't wait to see where next stop, what it does next.
Me too.